Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your host for today. Today we have Caverly Morgan leading today's session. She is the founder of Presence Collective and Peace in Schools, two organizations that I work for. Presence Collective is a community of diverse teachers, diverse practitioners from different backgrounds and wisdom traditions, and we're all dedicated to personal liberation, collective liberation, and social justice. Peace in Schools is a nonprofit that created the first for-credit mindfulness course in public high schools. She will be guiding us through about 30-minute meditation, and if we have time at the end, there will be a Q&A. At that time, if you have a question, you can use the ask a question button below, or you can use the chat box to request to come on screen, and then I can help you come on screen. Before I bring Caverly online, I just have a few announcements. First, thank you to Sangha Live for being the platform. Sangha Live is run through donations from all of you to help it running, to help the site, the tech, the teachers, all of it. So if you have the means, you can use the green button below that says offer donation Donna and donate today. And then a few announcements from Presence Collective. First, Caverly has done different courses, and she's actually done a couple courses through Sangha Live. So if you're interested in doing Bridge to Happiness, I will include that link in the chat box. Bridge to Happiness is a month-long course. Sometimes Caverly offers that as a retreat format, and it's also similar to what we offer in the Peace in Schools curriculum for our high school students. So check that out if you're interested. Second announcement I have is Presence Collective does online webinars every Thursdays, 2 p.m. PST. And this week is Michelle Johnson. She is the author of Skill in Action, and she is also a co-leader of one of our equity trainings that we do, that part of our staff do. She is a Black woman and very, very wise and very kind. And I highly recommend you check that out. I'll include that in the chat box as well. Last but not least, Caverly does Wednesday night sits every single Wednesday, and tomorrow's Wednesday. So if you'd like to join, check that out. It's similar to today's format. It's a meditation Q&A. So if you want more time with Caverly, please join us there. I will bring Caverly on screen.
Thank you, Alyssa. So glad you're here. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks for being here. I'm glad to be back. I've mentioned it before, but I just appreciate the rhythm and the consistency of our showing up together. So thank you for your participation. Morning from Portugal, though it's not morning for you. Hello from Netherlands. Hi, Kiki. I know you're in Grenada. Hi, JD from Texas. Good morning, Richard. I'm trusting you're here in Portland this morning. Hi from Richard from Charlottesville. John, hot and trucky. All right. Hi, Sharon. Friends, hi. Thank you for being here, Joyce. Thank you. Another shout out to Joyce for her work titling these sessions and helping with some transcriptions. I'll pull little pieces of the transcriptions and put them on social media. So if you don't follow along on Instagram, please join us there. Friends, yesterday we were speaking about awareness, but specifically awareness in relationship to I don't know mind. So I came in today wanting to, just based on what unfolded, wanting to offer a part two. Thank you for your engagement yesterday. You all are critical in the unfolding of teachings. I as you know, I don't come in with just prepared talks that I'm delivering to a screen. I'm in relationship with you. So thank you for your engagement. What I saw yesterday in the group was that there is a shared desire to go more deeply into this topic of awareness, but specifically awareness in relationship to the mind of I don't know. So if you're new to this group today, welcome. It's all right if you didn't participate yesterday. The quote that I began with is simple. It was Suzuki's quote from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. In the beginner's mind, I actually, friends, I confess, I didn't pull it up again this morning, but the gist is in the beginner's mind, there are many limitations. In the expert's mind, or in the expert's mind, there's much limitation. In the beginner's mind, there's deep possibility. That's sort of the heart of what we were responding to yesterday. So I wanted to, that sparked quite a good discussion. And I wanted to move into today's teaching. I came ready to guide a meditation that supports the distinction between I don't know mind and the experience of identifying with a separate self that knows, and the experience of awareness that knows. So I will, in just a moment, begin this meditation. I'll guide us through that experience of exploring in our own direct experience. So not just talking at you about this topic for right now, but hopefully guiding us collectively through a direct experience of this topic. Joyce, thanks so much for popping that quote that I started with yesterday on the sidebar there. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Thank you. Easy enough to remember, but for whatever reason this morning, it just wasn't there. So perfect. Appreciate that, Joyce. So that's Suzuki from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. A wonderful book if you have not read that book. Very simple, but very direct, very clear. So friends, let's sit together today. Thank you again, Joyce. Let's sit together and have some direct inquiry into the nature of this beautiful, clear quote. Thank you. Suzuki's quote from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Settling into your meditation by feeling the way in which your body's making contact with whatever you're sitting on. Experiencing your breath in all directions. Noticing that the breath is not just resting at the front of the body. Your attention may habitually be at the front of the body, but the breath is a three-dimensional experience. Notice the front body, the back body, and the side body. As your body naturally responds to the inhalation and the exhalation, to the gentle ebb and flow of the breath. In light of today's theme about the mind of, I don't know, the beginner's mind, the mind of not grasping onto beliefs and assumptions, take a moment to visualize one place in your life that you deeply know that experience of grasping onto beliefs and assumptions. You know something. And just notice what it feels like in your body. In your mind. And your energetic system to know, to be sure. Most importantly for today's exploration, to be right. We're exploring that kind of knowing. I am the expert. I know, and I'm right. Notice the doors of possibility close in that kind of knowing. But also, importantly, in terms of today's meditation, notice who you become in that kind of knowing. Who or what do you identify with in that kind of knowing? Notice the qualities, the tone of that identification. Now visualize a place in your life in which it's clear that there's an experience of not knowing. It could be something that you think of as external, concrete. I'm new to learning Spanish. It's clear to me that I don't know. It's all an exploration. There's an openness around learning because I don't know. For this moment, divorce yourself from the conditioning that latches onto that not knowing and brings in insecurity or fear or concern about the unknown. That's a separate exploration for now. Just let that go and notice what it's like to be in the open space of, I don't know, I'm learning, I'm open. Like a hole in the sand at the ocean. That space is quick to fill with our conditioned temptation to resist being in that openness. So it fills habitually with thoughts like, but I need to know, I should know, I have to figure this out. But for now, just notice what it's like when you're in that open space of not knowing. Is there perhaps even a sense of something that you'd label excitement around exploration or learning or the unknown? Can you sense, can you feel the possibility that's there? What quality or tone would you ascribe to this experience of, I don't know? And now another place of exploration today. Your attention has been moving towards these various images in this sort of guided imagery format of the meditation. Your attention's moving outward in a sense, even though it's an internal experience. Now, draw the attention, allow the attention to rest back in awareness itself. Free the content. Allow that to pass. And now explore a different knowing. From this soft settling of the attention, for example, what do you notice about the knowing of awareness? For example, notice, how do you know the sound of my voice? Yes, you're paying attention to the sound of my voice, but how is whatever the attention lands upon known? We began the meditation by acknowledging the breath. How is the breath known? Something the non-dual teacher Rupert Spira says often in similar explorations is there anything to your experience other than the knowing of it? So if you explore, for example, sensation in the body, what is sensation in the body without the knowing of it? Earlier in the meditation, I asked you to consider who do you become in the knowing of experience that's associated with the conditioned mind, specifically being right. I know this. Who or what do you become? What comes into being with that activity of the conditioned mind? On whose behalf does that kind of knowing arise? And now return to this knowing that is simply this knowing of all experience, having nothing to do with right and wrong. The knowing of sound, the knowing of sensation, the knowing of movement. On whose behalf does that knowing occur? What do you notice about that? What quality or tone would you ascribe to this knowing? If the knowing that arises on behalf of identification with the conditioned mind has qualities like rigidity, just tossing out one from my own experience. What quality or tone would you ascribe to this knowing that we're exploring now? Notice that this knowing of experience is free from the limitations of right, wrong, good, bad, this, that. This knowing, for example, let's work with the knowing of sensation or the knowing of the sound of my voice. This knowing is free from the limitations of labels. This knowing is free from identification with the mind of limitation. It arises on behalf of awareness itself. This knowing is the nature of awareness itself. From this knowing, we can say, I don't know. Because from this knowing, there is no separate I to know. Knowing is freed to belong to awareness itself versus being co-opted by the conditioned mind, co-opted by the activity of a self that is separate from life, the illusion of a self. So when we touch, I don't know mind, we're actually releasing the identification with the I that assumes it knows. And resting in pure knowing. In pure awareness. So rest in the I don't know that is divested from the conditioned habit of right, wrong, good, bad, this, that. The freeing from that duality is the freedom of I don't know. As you divest, as you release, as you exclaim, I don't know. Notice that all that's left is pure knowing. Knowing without labels. Knowing without judgment. The knowing that's undivided. Whole. Timeless. In a moment, I'll ring the bell. As I do, notice how the sound arises in this pure knowing. Notice your experience of the sound beyond the conditioned knowing of that's a bell, it's this pitch, Caverly's ringing it. Just stay with the knowing of your experience. rest in I don't know mind as you hear, as you know the experience of sound. Friends, thank you. Thank you for that exploration. If you are new to this Sangha live experience with me, know that I usually have more silence, specifically towards the last 10 minutes or so of the meditation. Today was a bit different because I wanted to really unpack, directly explore, have some inquiry around this theme. So just wanted to give a little bit of context. I'm eager to hear what you all are present to and noticing around today's meditation, this topic. Before I do, just as you know, this is my moment to follow Sangha Live's suggestion to please offer a reminder about donations. That suggestion's important. They've noticed folks tend to forget about it if there's not a little reminder. So please do use that green button below if you are able. So what do you see? What do you notice about identification with the conditioned mind, that place of knowing that is, I'm right, I know this? What do you notice? Thank you, Peter. What do you notice about that identification versus the knowing of awareness? Kiki, thank you so much, Caverly. That meditation was excellent. It helped me understand the I don't know mind so much better. Great. Yes, I think the thing that I appreciated about what arose today was the importance of the distinction between what is it that's claiming knowledge. The knowing of, I know this from a place of identification with the ego is a very different knowing than the knowing of experience, the knowing of pure awareness. From that knowing, there is no I to say, I know. It's that knowing is free from the limitation of the conditioned mind that claims knowledge. Kiki, you added, the place of knowing is inflexible and closed off and very confident. The I don't know mind is more open, humble, patient. Absolutely. A quality of resting in awareness, many of us might say, is openness. That openness is a quality of awareness itself. Closed constriction, that Those would be words we would use to describe what it feels like to be identified with the conditioned mind. Perfect, Kiki. Jonathan, the conditioned knowing feels not different from arbitrary sounds from my environment. Okay, good. Jonathan, thank you. I'm wondering if you'd be open to coming on screen, Jonathan. If you would, this would be a very rich place for exploration. I'm going to give you a moment in case that's possible for us. Work that out with Alyssa. John, there's a contraction versus open possibility. Yeah, the conditioned knowing grips and clings. Joyce, the identified knowing leads to defensiveness and almost aggression. I would say that it can lead to total aggression. Not so with the I don't know mind, much more open to possibility and connection. And Eileen adds curiosity and adventure. Beautiful. Richard Brandt, perfect for me today as I start teaching online. Wonderful, Richard. Students think I know something, and I struggling with the technology as a beginner. Great, Richard. Thank you for naming that. What a wonderful opportunity to confess to all. I don't know, and I'm exploring, and I'm open. I love it. Andrea, identified ego feels controlling and fearful. The knowing felt like it truly trusts experience. Absolutely. And Andrea, that's because it's not separate from experience. Can you tease apart sensation from the knowing of it? What is there to sensation other than the knowing of it? This is not the knowing of that sensation equals, and then coming up with conditioned stories about it. Beautiful. Sandy, I feel threatened and vulnerable not knowing. By knowing, the illusion is one of self-protection from the harmful unknown. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, so Jonathan, you can come on screen. Great. Let's see if that's going to work. I hope it does. So Sandy, thank you for voicing this. Sandy, I would invite you to consider to explore what is it that feels threatened and vulnerable not knowing. There is nothing wrong with that conditioned tendency to know and to try to be right. That arose as a survival system of sorts. I will be safe because I can know the dangers that are coming and I can protect myself from them. That's not bad or wrong. But how often does that survival system get kicked in moments in which there's actually no real threat? For example, the knowing of, but I'm right about this, and now I'm defensive about it. And as someone pointed out, perhaps even aggressive about my opinions, because they're not opinions, they're truth, they're real. Hi, Jonathan. We'll continue, Sandy, in just a moment. Jonathan, welcome.
Thanks.
Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, from the Netherlands, from a town called Amersfoort, which is not too far from Amsterdam.
Beautiful. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Tell me a little more about your experience, if you would.
Yeah, I noticed during the meditation that whatever thoughts and dialogues and facts that came up from this conditioned mind, and I noticed them, and then I also noticed the random noise from the environment, like a neighbor talking in the garden and stuff like that. And it appeared to me that regarding the feeling and the attachment, that there was not any difference between them in terms of emotion or feeling. That was the main thing I learned.
So tell me, Jonathan, do you have an experience of the knowing of the sounds outside you, for example, or the sound of my voice right now? Do you have an experience of what qualities would you give to that kind of knowing? What would you ascribe to that kind of knowing?
Just sounds with
Just
and
sound.
if it's a sentence that is spoken by someone, it can have, of course, meaning in the language, but it's not something that directly impacts me or that I need to act upon or that has consequences.
Yes, there's a neutrality to just the knowing of experience.
Yeah.
Is neutrality a fair word to you?
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
Yeah, there's neutrality of just knowing these sounds that arise. Now, what qualities or what words would you use to describe your felt experience when there's something that you know that you might debate with someone else about because you know the answer, or you know the information, or you think of yourself as an expert?
Yeah, so during the meditation, it occurred to me that these kinds of thoughts and that kind of knowledge was not that different from a bird chirping in the trees.
Well, here's what I'm wanting to explore, Jonathan. The knowing of those thoughts arising, I would suggest, is not that different. So me just knowing, oh, those thoughts are arising. Oh, there's that story about how my mother didn't treat me well when I was a kid. Okay, so the knowing of that experience is actually the same knowing. But now I'm wondering about that place that I refer to as like conditioned knowing, like the place in which you go through life, for example, identified with the thinking mind that says, I know that this is right and this is wrong. The knowing of the existence of that conditioned mind is the same knowing. But what's it like to be in that knowing that's arising on behalf of there's a right and a wrong and a good and a bad? That's what I'm trying to explore.
Yeah, that's more constrained. And it also seems to be more self-reinforcing than
Exactly.
the other kind of knowing.
Exactly.
It's like a magnet.
Yes, it keeps this sense of I in place. I can have this identity because I like this, I don't like this, I know this, I don't know this, I'm an expert on this. That's at the heart of what we're exploring today. And I think that I think what's at the heart of your exploration is a recognition that even that mind of I know this, I don't know this, I'm an expert here, I like this, I don't like this, that's known by the same knowing that knows the experience of sensation. That the illusion of a self that is separate from life is known by the same open, infinite consciousness that knows sensation. So there we could say there's no difference. But one of the reasons we're exploring this today is I could feel in yesterday's meditation that there were some that that weren't clear about what the felt experience of identifying with the knowing, in quotes, that's arising on behalf of the conditioned mind. Like what that is, how that's different from this other knowing. And in keeping with the theme, the I don't know, the resting in I don't know is the releasing of that gripping.
Yeah, it's clear.
It is.
Yeah.
You have the same experience, you're saying?
Yeah, I quite felt it today, that difference. It was nice. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for the clarification. Appreciate that. Welcome. So, John and Nancy, the unknown also has an element of fear. Yes, fear. Oh, the unknown also has an element of fear. I visualize learning to paint, then the fear of, I can't do that. Then the thought, maybe it's not so hard, not so scary. Yes, as I mentioned during the meditation, I'm not sure if this is John or Nancy, after I mentioned, or during the meditation, I mentioned, for now, let that second line of how thank you, John. John noticed that that's what kicks in the conditioning that kicks in reaction to the recognition of this I don't know mind, or the unknown, or the knowing of pure awareness. Those are all interchangeable for today's meditation. So go back to that image of the hole in the sand right near the edge of the water at the sea. It's quick to fill. The conditioned mind is the same way. There's this emptiness, and we might have a moment or a long period of time of just resting in that openness and recognizing this peace that accompanies I don't know mind, this peace, this openness that comes with the relaxation of identity. I know I'm right. Quickly, for many of us in our experience, we'll then feel that hole start to fill, and it fills with thoughts like, but I need to know. I have to know. So yes, you're right. To recognize that we can question. We didn't get there in today's meditation, but we can question the validity of that voice. Do I need to know? Do I have to be right? Would I rather be right, or would I rather be free? JD, thanks for thanking Jonathan for coming on. And John, it's not personal. Nothing is ultimately, and yet it is what we do with everything. Take it personally. We do take things personally. Yes, that's the illusion. The ego takes everything personally, because for the ego, everything is self-referencing. Everything's reflecting I, in that sense of a self that is separate from life, the illusion of a self that is separate from life. Mimosa, relaxation of identity. Love that. Wonderful. I love that too. Let's end on that note. Let's practice with that today, friends. The relaxation of identity through resting in I don't know mind. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much for your practice. Many blessings.